We learned what is native VLAN and default VLAN. We know the difference between native VLAN and default VLAN. This is another VLAN called private VLAN. And this is Cisco proprietary feature. This feature you may see in some other vendor with a different name, I'm not sure, but in Cisco, we call this as private VLAN. See, the word says private. So something related to privacy is what this feature provides. Let's see what it is. Private VLAN allows you to create sub VLANs under a VLAN. You can call it as primary VLAN. For example, we'll have a primary VLAN, let's say 100. Inside the VLAN, we create VLAN 200, 201. Originally, the members of 200 and 201 are members of 100 LP. This is the original VLAN. Now, for some reason, what I do, I create sub VLAN called 200 and 201 under this primary VLAN. So when traffic comes out from the switch, this PC traffic will be seen as VLAN 100 traffic. Originally, it is coming from the sub VLAN of 100, but 100 is the primary VLAN. 200 is not the primary VLAN. 200 and 201 comes under 100. So any traffic coming out from 200, 201 will be seen as 100 VLAN traffic by other switches. But for this switch, traffic coming from this PC and traffic coming from this PC are not the same. But for this switch, traffic coming from this PC as well as this PC is same VLAN 100 traffic. Why do we need to do this? For that, we have to understand 3 modes of private VLAN. So we need to understand there are 3 private VLAN modes. Promiscuous, isolated mode, community mode. Or you can also call it as 4 types in private VLAN: isolated, promiscuous, community. I want to explain you this with simple diagram. Now, This port will be the primary VLAN port. And these ports I'm making as community 1. And VLAN number is 201. Community 1. And these ports, I'm making it as member of community 2. And that is VLAN number 202. These ports isolate VLAN 203. Now, what is isolate port? Members of this VLAN 203 will not be able to talk each other. These two cannot talk. They cannot talk, even though they all belong to same VLAN. What is the VLAN number? 203. They can't talk to each other because this port mode is isolated port mode, port type. And the members of same community can talk, no problem. But members of one community cannot talk to another community. Members of one community cannot talk to isolate also. But all these secondary VLAN members can talk to internet via promiscuous port. Primary VLAN member is a promiscuous port. See, all these 9 computers can go online, no problem. But this computer, which is in 10001, will not talk to 10002. Why? Even though they are in same subnet, they are not going to talk. Why? Because the port is isolated VLAN port. And these 3 can talk each other if they are in same subnet. These 3 can talk each other, but this one and this one cannot talk because they belong to different community. Community communicates with other member of same community as well as all promiscuous port. Primary VLAN belong to promiscuous port. Now, where do we use this? Let's say you have a big data center and a customer is saying, I want 3 computers of this much CPU, of this much RAM. I want 3 computers, and the 3 computers should be in one local area network. So you will put those 3 computers in community 1 and give to the customer. There is another customer asking, I want another group of 3 computers with this profile. You will put that in another community because this is another customer. You don't want customer 1 and customer 2 communicating because this is two different customers, right? These computers may be VM. All these computers can be virtual machines. You are asking for cloud computing, cloud service. You want some computers for your new office, so you subscribe to the cloud service like this. You say, for my company, I need these three VM servers, big servers for my employees, and all these three should be in single LAN, which means they should talk to each other. Now there is another customer who says, I want three computers of this profile, but they should not talk to each other. They should not talk to each other. So for that customer, isolate VLAN is given. Now, there is another customer who is asking the same thing. I need another three computers which should not talk to each other. Do you need to create another isolate VLAN? No. Just put them in member of the same VLAN. Anyway, they are not going to talk. This belongs to customer alpha. This belongs to customer beta. Never mind. They can be in same 30203. Anyway, they are not going to talk each other, though they are in same VLAN. So what I'm trying to say is, you may have many community, but isolate, you no need more than one. You may need more than one community when more tenants, more customers come. Pretend like you are a big cloud data center provider. I'm coming to you asking, give me three big servers of this profile. And these three big servers should not talk to each other. What do? You take a big pool of resource from there, create one server for me virtually, VM, and put it in VLAN 203 and give me access. Give me the IP address so that I can access. Same way, like me, someone might have got another server. We don't talk to each other because we both belong to isolate VLAN 203. You see, the private VLAN is providing you the flexibility of denying group of devices talking each other, or allowing a particular group to talk to each other but not to talk to any other group or isolate members. And all these can talk to Prometheus, the primary VLAN. Originally, when the traffic comes out from the switch, as I said earlier, the traffic coming from isolate member or a community member, they all come out as VLAN 100 traffic. These 201, 202, 203 is not exposed outside. They are sub VLANs. They are secondary VLANs. Yeah. The blue line, if you see in this picture, they're all primary VLAN. Primary VLAN, Prometheus. Prometheus can talk to everyone. Prometheus can talk to the isolate member, can also talk to community. And the red one is isolate VLAN. You see, they don't talk to each other, though they belong to same VLAN. The yellow one is another secondary VLAN, but it is a community VLAN, belong to same VLAN ID 201 community, so they can talk. The yellow line, if you see, it can talk to each other. as well as it can talk to Prometheus. VLAN inside VLAN. See this. Private VLAN. Private VLAN is a concept used primarily in data center, service provider network. This is to enhance layer 2 security and segmentation, meaning I have segmented into multiple communities and isolate, and also there is a security like members of the isolate cannot talk each other. It allows subdivision of VLANs into smaller and isolated sub-VLANs. Even though they all have the same subnet and the main VLAN is same VLAN for all, main VLAN in our case it's 100, main VLAN is 100. And the sub-VLANs are 200, 201 and 203. This is community, this is community, this is isolate, this is permissions. And they all belong to 10 subnet, 10.0.0.1, 10.0.0.50, 10.0.0.100. This provides traffic isolation. What provides? Private VLAN provides traffic isolation at layer 2 within the same VLAN. Within the same VLAN 100, these members cannot talk to these members. Within this, they can talk. And a member of this isolate cannot talk within themselves as well as cannot talk outside. But they all can talk to primary VLAN so that they can go online. Now, why to use private VLAN? When you have multiple tenants, I gave you a data center example. When you have multiple customers, you need this. Right? So this prevents the host from communicating directly with each other, which means isolate VLAN, allows all the hosts to access shared service like Internet, DHCP, and gateway through Prometheus port, provides layer 2 isolation while keeping IP management simple. Though the IP address is same, they still cannot talk if they are all in isolated port type. Three components of private VLAN, which we just learned. One is primary VLAN. Primary VLAN is the main VLAN, in our case, example 100. And this carries traffic from the isolate as well as the community VLAN. They are all called a secondary VLAN. So secondary VLAN, isolate, and community VLAN. Host cannot communicate with any other port, not even with other isolate, not even with other isolate port. They can only talk to Prometheus port, which is primary VLAN port. In our case, this was 202, which cannot talk to the member of same 202, but it can talk to 100. Community VLANs, we had 203 in our example. 201 and 202 are community VLANs. Within 201, they can communicate. But with another community, they cannot communicate. And also they cannot talk to isolate. This community can talk to Prometheus. This community can talk to Prometheus. Port types, Prometheus can communicate to all port, which means it should be what? Primary VLAN. That's Prometheus port. And this is the port which connects you to the internet, like default gateway, routers, firewalls, and servers on the top. Next is isolate port, can only communicate with Prometheus port not with any other isolated or community port. Next is community port can communicate with other community port in the same VLAN as well as the promiscuous port. So for any question, host A and B belong to one VLAN called 101. Let me draw that in another place. Host A, host 101. And that is an isolate. Next, host C and D belong to a community called Community 1. VLAN is 102. Community 1. And there is another community member called 30103. Host D. E. 103. This is community 2. And if you see the interface 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what on the switch. So you have switch, port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is COM2, COM1, isolate. Next is we got another port which connects to the internet, where you have a router and the gateway, IP address, all the stuff. And that is Prometheus, primary VLAN 100. Prometheus will be primary. Yeah, primary VLAN is 100. From isolate is 101. Community 1 is 102. Community 2 is 103. Next. We know about the primary. It's the main VLAN. And it is having secondary VLANs. All the traffic coming from secondary VLAN, this main 100 VLAN is what responsible. 101 is isolate. The device cannot talk to each other. They can only talk to the router, meaning these two can talk only to the router. They cannot even talk between themselves. This is the router, internet router. Community devices can talk within the group and to the router. These two can talk each other, and also they can talk to the router. Similarly, this can talk to the router. These don't have any other member in same 103 to talk. Right? So this community 2 cannot talk to community 1. It is same like an isolate group. It cannot talk. It can only talk to the gateway, the router. It has got only one computer, so it is as equal as one isolate VLAN. Now, see this table. Host A, it cannot talk to B because they belong to same VLAN. Host A cannot talk to C because that belongs to another community. This is isolate, this is isolate, this is community 1, this is community 1, this is community 2, this is Prometheus. Host A can talk to B, it cannot talk to B because B is isolate. Host A is also isolate. It cannot talk to other communities, but it can talk to Prometheus. Host B, which is also isolate member, cannot talk to other isolate member, cannot talk to community member, can talk to only Prometheus. Host C, that belongs to community VLAN 102, it cannot talk to the isolate members, but it can talk to its own community member, but it cannot talk to other community member. And it can talk to Prometheus. Same way, host D. Host D also belongs to same community 1. So it can talk to its own community member and isolate. Sorry, and Prometheus. They cannot talk to anyone else. Host E is same like isolate because it is not a member of, because there is no member. Host E is one single computer on 103. So it can only talk to Prometheus. This is host E. It cannot talk to any other device. F is nothing but the port, which is primary VLAN, Prometheus VLAN. This can talk to all computers. Use case, where do we use primary versus private VLAN? As I said, you have a big resource pool, compute pool, and you want to rent some VMs for customers. The customer wants to rent some VMs. And if customer wants the VM to communicate each other, then you create a community VLAN and give them. If customer want to keep the computer away from talking, then you put them in isolate VLAN. And all the VLANs will be connected to Prometheus so that it can be reached by the internet for the customer to access. Right? Now, we have seen this 2 times. 2 times I have revised this topic for you. Now let's get into the configuration commands. First thing, don't do this way. First, you need to create the VLANs. Okay, here only. This is the first step. This is the first step. You say first create VLAN 100, and then you will be inside the VLAN mode. Say private VLAN primary. Come out. And then you say VLAN 101, private VLAN, whatever, according to the scenario. What do we have? 101 is isolate. You say isolated. And then create another VLAN 102. You say community. Yeah. Okay. So 3 VLANs you have created. No, 3. In this example, there are 2 communities. So 4 VLANs. One is primary VLAN 100 using this primary keyword. And then 101 and 102, they are different communities. 101 and 102 and 103. 101 is isolate. 101 is isolate. And then 102 and 103 is VLAN. We created the VLANs first. VLANs are ready now. Next is, we also need to say this. When you are in the primary VLAN, when you are inside VLAN 100, primary VLAN, you need to say private VLAN association VLAN 101, 102, 103. I repeat. First thing, you create the VLANs and you define the roles. Second step, you go inside VLAN 100, which is a primary VLAN, and the VLANs that you created, 101, 102, and 103, community 1, community, you need to associate them. You need to tell that these three are secondary for this. This is the command that will make that happen. That correlation. When you are inside VLAN 100, which is a primary VLAN, you are associating. See, you should understand the word private VLAN association. With whom it is associated? 101, 102, and 103. That's all. Now what is left is, under the interface, you need to go and configure primary and secondary VLANs, which is left. But so far what we have done is, we have created four VLANs, 100, 101, 102, 103. We also set the type. 100, we said primary. 101, we said isolate. 102 and 3, we said community. After that, you again go inside VLAN 100, associate those secondary VLANs. It's called SLV, secondary VLAN. Let's say later you realize that you want to remove 102, you can use the remove command and say 102. These are all later, but initially we will only do this. These are all for editing purpose. After this, if you say show VLAN, private VLAN type, then you will see those mappings. VLAN 100 is associated to all these three VLANs. Is there any question from this page? We just created VLAN. We have defined the primary, isolate, and community. And then we associated all the secondary to primary. That's all. But so far we have not gone to the ports. You see this picture. These two ports, I have to go and say, you belong to 101, and that 101 is not the primary VLAN. 101 is the secondary for 100. Likewise, I need to go to these two and say you belong to 102, which is already defined as community, and you are not alone, you are secondary for 101. Okay? At last, I need to go to this port and say, hey, you are a primary member of Prometheus and you are associated with these three. So now I need to go and do port level. So far, we have not gone to port level, we have just done everything global level. And this is the port level configuration. You see? You go to the port. The port will have only two roles. You see, this port is a host port connecting to the host. But this port is not a host port. This is connecting to the internet gateway. It is not a host port. It is promiscuous port. Host port can talk to promiscuous and promiscuous can talk to hosts. So that is what you're going to say. You go to all these ports, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and say switch port mode, private VLAN, host. Don't say promiscuous, host. Whereas on this port, you say switch port mode, promiscuous. Switch port mode, private VLAN, promiscuous. For all these ports, you said switch port mode, private VLAN, host. I hope this command is easy for you to understand now. On the promiscuous port, you will not say host. Other than promiscuous, you will go to all other community ports, isolate ports, and say host. Next. After you define that, now you go only to the community port and the isolate port one by one. You go to these ports one by one and say switch port, private VLAN, host association 100. And what is this? 101. 100 is primary VLAN. No comma, no nothing. Only give a space and say 101. Do this on these two ports. And on these two ports, what you will do, instead of 101, you will say 102. This is same primary VLAN 100, 102. And on this port, you will say 103. That's it. This command is only for the host ports. After that, you go to the promiscuous port and say primary VLAN, say private VLAN mapping, the mapping command. This is host association. But the promiscuous port is not having any host. So host command won't come here. You say private VLAN mapping 100, 101, 102, 103. That's it. That's all. Finish. Almost similar thing we also did in associate command in the previous page. This is VLAN, primary VLAN association. On the interface, we did host association and mapping on the port, promiscuous port. If you see this video twice or thrice, you will be able to understand these commands. All right. So that's the reason why I explained you the commands very well. If you have any doubt in those commands, you can ask today or tomorrow or whenever you get time to spend in learning this private VLAN. Now, the next topic in layer 2 attack and mitigation is spoofing attack. Spoofing attack. So far, what all attacks we have seen? First, we saw VLAN. First we saw MAC address based attacks. And then secondly, we saw VLAN based attacks. Next, we are going to see spoofing attack, spoof attack. What is spoofing? What is spoofing? Spoofing is very common today. Almarat. Acting like a acting and proving like another person. Spoofing, cheating attack, spoofing attack, phishing attack. All right, so we will see like how a DHCP spoofing attack happens, how ARP spoofing attack happens, and how to mitigate them is what this chapter is going to explain us.